Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. So, my name is Muhammad AMIN bin HASSAN BAKRI and I am from TSLB 3273-2028. So, I would like to welcome everyone to enjoy my video because this video will help you in knowing about context, which is what we learn in this course for English Language Awareness. TSLB 3273 in first sem for our first year degree. So English Language Awareness. So before I start my presentation about this, which is for task 1 performance presentation, I would like to brief explain to you guys about English Language Awareness for this topic, which is context. So knowing about context is very crucial. It's very crucial for us because if we know about context, we can speak clearly. We can communicate in a very clear way to our friends or to anyone in various settings. So it will help us in the future because we are the future teacher. We are teacher to be. So it is very important for us to know about the context, to understand what context, to understand or to use a good context, which is when we are communicate. So without holding anymore, so let's start with my presentation. Enjoy yourself. We are gonna moving on to the next slide. So for this task 1, so we have given a statement about context of situation, which is forms parts of context of culture. So by context of culture is the meanings assumption we share as a community of people. So it also incorporates the culturally evolved expectation of ways of behaving and getting things done. So based on that statement, we must choose or select any of 2 types of context that we learn in this course. So there are many contexts actually. So the context given is situational, cultural, and also interpersonal. So what I chose is situational context and also cultural context. So these 2 contexts I will explain. I will experimenting with you guys to delve more about this, to ensure that everyone that watch this video, it will help them to know about this context. So without holding this anymore, let's explain like each of one, which is situational and cultural context. So actually, what is context? So in general, we know that context refers to the circumstances, background or settings that surrounds a particular event, statement or idea, so helping to give it a meaning. So there are different types of context depending on what we are going to discuss later. So there are 3 contexts that we have learned in this course, which is situational, cultural, and also interpersonal. So context also, in my opinion, context, why we must know or why we must learn about context. So in my POV, in my point of view, context plays a fundamental role in shaping our understanding of event or statement and also ideas. So in general terms, context refers to what I told you guys earlier, which is it refers to the circumstances, background or settings that surround a particular event or conversation. So without context, actually it's very difficult to fully grasp or understand why something happens or how it should be interpreted. So like for example, like imagine reading a quote without knowing who said it, so where they said it or in what situation. So in this settings, it would likely lead to a confusion or misinterpretation because we don't even know what the context is about. So now context, what we have learned before, context can be broken down into different types, which is each of these adding a different layer of meaning to what is being discussed. So the first and the most common type that we have learned is situational context. So this refers to the immediate situational context. This refers to the immediate circumstances in which an event takes place. So for example, like understanding the physical settings, the people involved, and also the timing of an event. So it helps clarify its purpose or outcome in the future. So I'll just briefly explain what the context is about. So the next one is cultural context, which is encompasses which is or explaining the societal values, norms, or and also customs that influence or how people interpret situation. So we may be considered offensive or inappropriate in another if we don't know about their cultural context, because if we communicating with others, so they are inserting their cultural norms or their cultural words or things or customs in their when they are talking. So if we don't understand about it, so we might seem inappropriate, because we will be asking them, so what is it, I don't even understand, what is it, you're so lame, because we don't know about their cultural context. So recognizing or knowing cultural context for me is very essential, because in order to do effective communication, so especially we as a Malaysian, so because we live in the diverse environment, we have the main one, which is Malay, we have Chinese, Indian, we have Borneo people, we have so many races in Malaysia. So it's very crucial, it's very important to know cultural context, to learn cultural context, to ensure that we are communicating in a very mindful way. So let's moving on to the next slide, because I will explain more about this. So actually this task we must make it related to the Malaysian primary classroom. So the context that I chose is situational context and also cultural context. So in the Malaysian primary classroom, both contexts are vital element that shapes the teaching and learning experience for the students in Malaysia. So these contexts are not only background factors, but also actively influence how lessons are delivered and also how students respond to them. So it is very essential for us educators to consider in our teaching strategies. So situational context. So we all know that this refers to the immediate circumstances within the classroom. For example, things like physical setup of the room, like the time of the day, and also even the resources that are available in that school. Like for example, a classroom in an urban school might be equipped with more technology rather than the rural areas. So for example, the things that are the context that are available there, for example, projectors or smart boards, while the rural schools might don't have this, because they might use the traditional tools like a chalkbox or printed material. So this variation in resources, we know that it directly affects how lessons are conducted. So teachers, we as a teachers in technology environment now, we can use multimedia presentation or interactive tools, while we don't really have enough resource, or we have resource limited settings. So we can use other things, for example, to create games to ensure that our students we learn something new even if they don't have good things in their that available in their school. So also the cultural context in Malaysia, in Malaysian primary classroom. So we know that Malaysia is a diverse country with a mix of ethnicity, languages, and also religions. So this diversity actually very much present in the primary classroom, because kids or students, they are still new to this environment, because they just entered school. So they will learn new things, they will say new things to their friends, they will talk a lot about the cultural things. So for example, the cultural context here in the school refers to the background of the students, which is different ethnicity or different races. So for example, we have Malay students, Chinese students, Indian students. So these three are the main races that live in Malaysia, and also various ethnicity in Malaysia, for example from Sabahan and also Sarawak. So they all sitting in the same room. So each of them have their own unique cultural practices, or the way they talk, which is linguistic abilities. So we as teachers need to be mindful of this and create a learning environment that inclusive and respectful of these differences. So for instance, for example, like while we use bahasa Malaysia, this bahasa is the main medium of our instruction. So many students will speak different language at home, whether it's Mandarin, Tamil, or one of the language from the other ethnics. So this multilingual environment means that we teacher often have to use like different approaches to ensure that all students can understand or engage with the lesson that we are teaching. So I think it's very common for teachers to switch between languages or use visual to reinforce or to make sure that the kids' understanding is to ensure that they understands our lesson. So let's moving on to the next slide. Moving on to the next slide. So situational context in the classroom. So it refers to the immediate environment and also circumstances that influence teaching and learning. So these factors shape how lessons are delivered and how students engage with contents. So in Malaysian primary school classroom, so situational context can include, so the first one is physical environment, time of the day, class size, and also student needs and abilities. So we can see here that for example, the first one is physical environment. So this includes the layout of the classroom, availability of the resources like smartboards and traditional whiteboards that I have told earlier, and also even the comfort level, which is lighting or ventilation. So for instance, a well-organized school or a well-organized classroom might boost students' engagement, because it will help them to learn in a very calm way, to learn their lesson of the day in a very good way, because of they have the good environment, they have good places to sit, they have good table, and also the resources in the classroom. So the next one is time of the day. So we know that students is still kids, because they are in a primary school. So students' energy levels and their attention span can vary depending on the time, which is if it's still early in the morning, they will like feel sleepy, and if it's the mid-afternoon, like 12 o'clock, they will also feel sleepy, because it's very hot and it's actually time to sleep for them. So there are other opinion about the time. For example, like morning lessons might be more productive than those scheduled later, like for example in the mid-afternoon, because the mid-afternoon is when students are tired, and when they are tired they will less focus, so it will not engage them in their lessons. So the next one is class size. So we know that the number of students in a classroom affects how lessons are delivered. So for example, like larger class sizes might lead to the less personalized instruction, while smaller classes could allow for more, like for example, for more interactive and individualized learning experience from the teachers. So this is actually like plays a very important roles, because if we have too many students in one classroom, it will not help them to learn in a very effective way, because we as a teacher, we know that we know our abilities, so we know that if there are too many students we cannot focus on them, so we just like do the briefly explanation to each of them. So I think here that smaller classes is better than a larger classes with a lot of students. So the next one is student needs and abilities. So here it involves understandings that diverse learning needs or language proficiency, and also cognitive abilities of the students. So in Malaysian context, like catering to different background or knowing to the different background, including language differences, is a very crucial for effective learning, because they have their own needs, they have their own abilities. For example, like they can explain in a very effective way to their friend, or one can like sit calmly or learn in a can learn fastly. So they have different needs and abilities. So this thing is very crucial for we teachers to know them in order to learn them, in order to teach them. So in educational setting, like particularly in the classroom, so situational context plays a various factors that can affect teaching and learning. So the next slide, I would explain about some key aspects of the situational context in the, like for example, in the classroom. For the first key aspect, which is physical environment. So the classroom setup, setting arrangement, availability of technology and other resources. So this thing is very crucial for students in order for them to learn in a very effective way. So poor lighting, noisy surrounding, or an uncomfortable room temperature can impact student focus and participation in their learning. So the second one is social interaction. So the dynamics between students and between teachers and students. So students might behave differently depending on group size, presence of authority figures, or peer relationship. So all these things, like it is connected to their behavior when they are learning. For example, if we have if their parents are like looking at them, or they know that their parents is like near them, like seeing them when they are learning, so they will act differently, like not like usual when they act. So this thing link with each other, that it's not very convenient to have this kind of thing, because like for example, social interaction between in the classroom, we just need like social interaction between the teachers and the students. That's it. So the third one is cultural norm. So classroom behavior and expectation shaped by cultural practices or societal norms. So we in a Malaysian primary school classroom, we have a multicultural classroom. We have students from different cultural background, so they may interpret instruction and behavior differently. So we as a teacher must learn or must know about this first, about the other races, about their cultural things, so that we as a teacher can treat or can teach them in their preferred way. So the fourth one is teacher's approach. So the tone or body language and teaching style of the teacher play a very important role in shaping the classroom atmosphere. So whether a teacher uses formal or informal languages, humor or strict approaches, it can alter the situational context. So it is very important for the teacher to, for example, to know the students, so that they can teach student in a very good way.
Content versus context. Brought to you by the Conscious Leadership Group. Find them on the web at www.conscious.is. What are you paying attention to? What differentiates conscious leaders from unconscious leaders is that they pay as much attention to context as they do content. All leadership is a conversation. All conversation has content and context. Content is what we're talking about. Context is how we're talking about it. When you're reviewing next year's budget with your team, you're having a conversation. The content of the conversation is revenue and expenses. Good leaders pay attention to the content, and in many cases, they are content experts. Conscious leaders, however, pay attention to context. They're always noticing how they're having the conversation. Are they having the conversation from curiosity or defensiveness? Wanting to listen, learn and grow, or wanting to defend their egos and prove they're right? Claiming responsibility or placing blame? Openness and candor, or from withholding and manipulating? One shorthand for context is to me versus by me. To me leaders see themselves as at the effect of people, circumstances and conditions. Life is happening to them. They're victims of the world around them. By me leaders see themselves as creators of their experience. They take radical responsibility for whatever is occurring in their lives. They live from a great experience of empowerment. Conscious leaders pay as much attention to context because context in the long run determines how innovative, creative, effective and collaborative our teams and we can be. When you're in to me, we're having a conversation based in fear or threat. And when we're in by me, we're having a conversation based in trust. Threat and fear produce results that leaves a toxic residue in the end. What we have observed over and over again is that when leaders have a conversation from to me, issues don't ultimately get resolved. They recycle. This recycling of issues is a major loss of time, money and energy. Unconscious leaders try to address this recycling by doubling down on content. Conscious leaders address the context first before addressing the content. Conscious leaders identify when they and others are in to me mindset. They understand that this reactivity is coming from insecurity and threat, and they invite themselves and others to shift. Often, they simply ask that people pause and take a breath. Because whenever they're triggered and in to me, they're not breathing well and they're amped up on adrenaline. Then they address context directly and invite people to value listening over speaking, learning over being right, revealing over concealing facts, feelings and personal agendas. They, of course, model the shift they're asking others to make. It's quite amazing to observe how much more easily content issues can be resolved once context issues are addressed. Einstein knew this when he said, "A problem cannot be resolved from the consciousness from which it was created." Bingo. Shift the consciousness and context, and the problem resolves. What are you paying attention to?
So have you guys watched the video? So actually that video I just want to put there to differentiate between the content and the context. So what the video actually talks about or teaches us about is actually like it is actually benefits of understanding context in general. So in that video they use various example. For instance, they use POV of their bosses. Like for example, the first boss use like focus more on content, and the second boss put context, put the importance of the context before anything else. So in that video, it is actually talks about the benefits of the knowing context in general. So based on that video, I would like to give not tips, I would like to give to teachers you guys about these benefits. So first one is if we know or if we understand the context in communication, so in general, so we can have a better communication. So it will help you guys talk in a way that fits the situation and the people you are talking to. So it will make things clearer between you guys. So the next one is we can make a smarter decision. So when you know the background or when you know what they are talking about, so you can make choices that are more thoughtful and useful. So it will help you guys to look more confident, to have more confident when you are communicate. So the next one is if we know or if we understand context when we are communicating, we can solve the problems. So understanding the bigger picture helps you find a better solution because you see how different parts connected. Okay, so the last one is when we understand context, it will improve our learning. So for example, in school, because why I highlighted school is because we as a teacher to be or the trainee teacher. So in school, knowing the context of the students when they are communicating, knowing the context helps you links new things with what you already know. For example, making learning easier between you and the students. So these benefits what I gave you guys you guys can apply to many situations in life and also in our work in the future. So the next one is benefits of knowing situational context in the classroom. So first is improve lesson planning, which is when we teachers understand the specific condition of our classroom, like how many students are there, what resources they have, and also the students' learning level. So we can create lesson that match these needs. So this make our lesson more focused and effective. So as a teachers, we can choose activities that work best for our students and the environment in the classroom. So the second one is increase students' engagement, which is by knowing when students are most focused, for their right time, for example in the morning or in the afternoon. So we teachers can plan exciting or interactive activities at the right time so that they can engage with the lessons more. So they can also adjust, we as a teacher can also adjust the lesson to match the students' energy level, ensuring that the students stay interested and participate actively in our lesson. So the third one is better classroom management. So understanding we as a teacher, understanding the layout of our classroom, where students sit and how they interact with one another, will help us to keep the classroom under control. Like for example, like sitting certain students together or apart can improve behavior and keep the class running smoothly. So we can also anticipate potential distraction or issues and manage them like before they disrupt our lessons. So the last one is enhanced communication. So we can adapt their way of talking and also explaining based on their needs and their overall mood of the classroom. So if students seems very tired or confused, we can slow down or simply adjust or simplify the instruction, so making it easier for everyone, for each student to understand and participate in the discussion. So by being aware of this situational context, we can create more engaging and also organized and responsive learning environment in our classroom. So this is actually leads to better learning outcomes and more positive experience for both teachers and our students. So let's moving on to the next context, which is cultural context in classroom. So cultural context in the classroom refers to the cultural background, values, beliefs and practices that students and teachers bring into the learning environment. So in a diverse classroom, cultural context influences communication, behavior and also learning styles, shaping the way students interact with content and each other. So understanding cultural context is very essential for creating an inclusive and respectful learning atmosphere. So there are 5 key aspects for cultural context. The first one is language diversity, cultural beliefs and values, learning styles, behavioral expectation. The last one is religious beliefs, and I will explain more about these key aspects in the next slide. So the first key aspect is language diversity. So the key point of this is multilingualism. So students may speak different languages at home or have varying level of proficiency in the language of instruction. For example, English or Malay for Malaysian, or English and Chinese, or English and Indian language. So this is multilingualism. So communication styles is the second key points for language diversity. So some cultures encourage direct communication, while others favor more indirect or polite forms of expression. So this is actually can affect classroom discussion and participation when we are giving them our lessons of the day. So the second key aspect is cultural beliefs and values. So the first key point for this is actually respect for authority. So what is it? So in some cultures, questioning or challenging authority is discouraged, which can influence how students interact with teachers or express their opinions. So we know that like some of the students of the other races, like for example Malay, Chinese and Indian and the other ethnicity, they use their own cultural beliefs or their own cultural values when they talk, when they communicate. So this is we must teach them to respect this, because we live in the diverse community. So the second key points for this is actually views on education. So cultural attitudes toward education, such as the emphasis on collective learning versus individual achievement. So this can affect students' motivation and behavior in the classroom. So moving on to the next slides. The next one is the third key aspect, which is learning styles. So it has no key points for this. So different cultures may have preferences for certain learning methods. For example, some students might excel in collaborative group work, while others may be more comfortable with individual achieve or self-paced tasks. So this is actually linked with the learning styles of different cultures. So the fourth key aspect is behavioral expectation. So the first key point for this is actually classroom ethic. So cultural norm around behavior such as speaking out, maintaining eye contact between students and teachers, or their body language is very and can lead to misunderstanding if not acknowledged by us, the teacher. So different students, different races, they have their own culture. So for example, when they talk, when they did this, when they like speaking out, when they are giving opinion, if these not acknowledged by the teachers, then the classroom will not really engaging for them, because they will think that like we teachers don't respect them, don't like really like them, because we are not acknowledging this. So the next key points for this is participation. So in some cultures, being quiet or reserved is seen as respectful, while in other cultures, active participation and speaking up are encouraged. So we as a teacher must know about this, because we are gonna teach different races in our classroom, because students come from different cultures. So they will, like for example, some cultures might stay quiet in the classroom to show that they are to show respect to the teachers, and some will do the active participation. When they are learning, they will like hands up, they will ask the teachers. So this is actually like different things in classroom for behavioral expectation. So the last one is the last key aspect is religious practices and beliefs. So the first key point is religious observances. So students from different religious background may need recommendation for prayer times, dietary restrictions, or holidays. For example, in Malaysia, we know that respecting the diverse religious practices of Muslim, Hindu, Christian, and Buddhist students is very essential. So we as a teachers must highlight this since they are still, for example, like when they are standard 1, we must already like told them the importance of respect the other religion, because we live in the diverse society. So the next key point for this is dress codes. So cultural and religious practices can also influence dress code, which is, for example, like hijab for Muslim girls, and the other dress for other religion. So understanding this custom is very important in creating an inclusive environment. So we as a teacher must teach them to respect this kind of thing, because different religion have their different things or different beliefs. So we must teach them to respect the other races and also religion in Malaysia. So the last slides for cultural context is the benefits of knowing cultural context in the classroom. So the first one is promotes inclusivity and respect. So when we teachers understand the different cultures presented in our classroom, we can create a welcoming atmosphere where all students feel valued. So this helps students respect each other's background and also their experiences, so making this easier for everyone to work together and sharing their ideas. So the second one is enhances students' engagement, which is when we are incorporate or use cultural elements into the lesson, can make the learning more relevant and interesting for the students. So when lesson are related to the students' life and cultures, they will more likely to participate actively and connect with the material in our lesson. So this leads to the greater motivation for them to learn in the future. So the third one is improve communication. So by understanding cultural differences in communication styles, it helps teachers, we, connect better with our students. For example, like some students may feel shy about speaking up, while others like maybe more outspoken. So we, who are aware of these differences, can adapt their teaching methods to encourage all students to share their thoughts and questions. So the last one is encourages cultural awareness and empathy. So teaching about different cultures, we can foster awareness and understanding among our students. So when they learn about each other's background, they develop empathy and also appreciation for diverse perspective. So this is actually helps build a strong sense of community and prepare students for a multicultural world. For example, we as a Malaysian, so we must, like for example, we must highlight this because we are already living in the diverse society. So by incorporating or recognizing or using cultural context, we can create more engaging and respectful and understanding classroom environment, which is benefits everyone involved. In this context, we teachers and also our students. This is the end. Thank you for watching. So in this presentation, we have explored the importance of understanding situational and also cultural context in the classroom. So we must use this because we, as a pre-teacher, as a trainee teacher, or a teacher to be in the future, we need to use this. We need to use this understanding of situational context and also cultural context in the future. So by recognizing this context, we can create more positive and effective learning environment for all the students in the class. So I hope that this information in my videos helps you guys in your teaching journey. And if you have any question or thoughts, feel free to share or feel free to contact me. And lastly, thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum and enjoy your day. Bye bye.